Welcome back, degenerates, to Place Your Bets. I'm Tyler James. He's the one and only Eric Hansen. We cover Notre Dame football, recruiting, and more for InsideNDSports.com on the Rivals Network. We love to make Notre Dame football prop bets for bragging rights, and we're here to do so one more time for the 2022 season. It was more than a month ago at this point, but the USC game went in opposite directions for the two of us, Eric, and it's some bad news for you. I had a 4-1 showing, and you went the other way with a 1-4 record. The Insider Lounge went 3-2, and this sets up our final Place Your Bet slates of the season. As long as we don't have a tie after the Gator Bowl, we will crown a Place Your Bets champion for the 2022 season after the game. So right now, as it stands, it likely comes down to this, unless we can't shake each other off, but Eric, how do you feel about your chances of pulling off a comeback, or are you putting all of your energy into rooting on the Insider Lounge to beat me?
I'm putting my energy into the Insider Lounge. I think that's the productive thing to do here. I'd rather them have bragging rights.
All right, let's get to our prop bets for Notre Dame's Gator Bowl matchup with South Carolina then. Our first one we have is over under 201.5 rushing yards for Notre Dame.
Well, I know that's on paper, this is the mismatch, Notre Dame's rushing offense against South Carolina's rushing defense. And you kind of look at their season and it's pretty predictable. And they're missing a couple of key pieces, but I think their defensive coordinator is going to want to do what USC and Navy and Stanford did, and that's try to get Notre Dame to throw the ball to prove that they can beat them and bring an extra defender to deal with the rushing game. I still think Notre Dame gets to 200 based on I just think this is that much of a mismatch, and I think Notre Dame will be able to do enough in the passing game to get South Carolina to play a little bit more honest.
Yeah, I'm going over as well. It just feels like this has to happen for Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame should be able to run all over South Carolina, and from the sounds of it, South Carolina's secondary isn't in the best shape from who it's missing for its bowl opt-outs as well. So I don't know how much South Carolina is willing to risk that. Now, that would seem to be a better gamble in that you're at least forcing Tyler Buchner to be the one to make the plays rather than the running game. But I don't know what that's going to look like. I just think Notre Dame needs to come in with the game plan to do that. I think they've seen the different kind of things that can be done to limit its running game and should at this point have an answer for that. So I think that and part of that answer is like just at least having the threat of Tyler Buchner to sort of keep the defense a little bit honest as well. So and when I say that, I mean his legs in addition to his arm. He can keep it from time to time. I don't think that's going to be a huge part of the running game, but it'll be enough that will keep South Carolina sort of guessing at times. All right, our next one is over under 2.5 passing touchdowns for South Carolina quarterback Spencer Rattler.
Well, he had 16 this season, and 8 of them came in the last 2 games. So you can kind of do the math and think that he didn't get 3 or more in very many other games. And looking through their schedule, combined, their quarterbacks didn't do that. The thing is, how South Carolina going to score in this game? And I had to decide what their score is. And I don't think that they're going to have a lot of opportunities to have rushing touchdowns, but I think they'll have 1 rushing touchdown. So I'm going to go under on Spencer Rattler and maybe regret that. But I'm in 3rd place anyways.
Hey, don't give up hope. The same thing that happened in the USC game can happen in this version of a USC game. I'm going under as well. He only passed for 3 touchdowns in a game twice, which seems kind of wild to think about. And he had 6 against Tennessee, and then he had 3 against Vanderbilt. The reason I put this number was so high was that I just don't know who scores for them running the football. So I feel like that's going to be Notre Dame or South Carolina's best chance of scoring is with his arm. But I do think that Notre Dame will be able to limit him to less than 3 passing touchdowns, which would qualify as the under here. All right, next one we have is who will lead Notre Dame in receptions?
That's, the
Good
automatic
luck.
answer is gone. I gave this a lot of thought. There's part of me that wanted to go with Deion Colsey. I just don't think he's
Yeah.
a frequency guy. I think he's a big catch guy. If I'm not mistaken, all but one of his catches were either for a third down or a touchdown. So he's Mr. Clutch. I'm going to go with Chris Tyree. I think he's going to be the leading rusher here. Leading reception guy, not the leading rusher.
Yeah, I thought long and hard about him as well. And then I was like, well, how much are they going to play him? Maybe it'll be Logan Diggs instead because he'll probably be on the field more. Then I came all the way back to our old friend Lorenzo Styles. He's still second on the team in catches, even though he only had 7 in the past 5 games. But I'm thinking maybe this bowl break helps sort of reset him, and he can sort of rediscover himself. He had chemistry with Tyler Buchner to start the season. So I'm going to take a flyer on him sort of finding his groove, getting on the same page with Tyler Buchner, and finding a way to impact the game as the leading pass catcher for Notre Dame this Gator Bowl.
The real dark horse here is Mitchell Evans, because they're not going to design something special for the tight end, and he doesn't have any catches this year. But I know that Tommy Reese, both last year and this year, has raved about his pass catching ability. So we'll see. But
yeah, I mean, this is a real dart throw. I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it could go any different way.
Well, based on my record, all of my guesses have been dart throws this year.
Hey, now don't get too down on yourself. We all have respectable records.
Okay.
Next one is over under 22.5 passing attempts for Notre Dame quarterback Tyler Buchner.
That one's tough too. Against FBS competition, there's only been one game where the opposing team didn't throw more than 22 passes, and that was the Arkansas game. I think Arkansas ran it 65 times that game. I think Notre Dame would like that number to be, maybe around 20. I think South Carolina's initial game plan is going to press Notre Dame to throw the ball a little bit more. And so I went slightly over with that. I think it's going to be around 24.
Okay. Yeah, he averaged 25 in his first 2 starts. In Notre Dame's last 5 games with Drew Pine, Pine averaged 21.6 per game. And that was with the running games sort of establishing itself as sort of the dominant force of the offense. And I expect that to be what Notre Dame's offense looks like. I can sort of see what you're saying in terms of like Notre Dame coming out, maybe throwing it a little bit more than you would expect to try to get South Carolina to back off a little bit. But I do think that would be short-lived. I think Notre Dame would try to get back to its running game as much as possible. So I was leaning towards this ending up closer to Pine's recent average than Buchner's average to start the year. So I'm going to go with the under. All right, next one. Over under 2.5 sacks for Notre Dame's defense.
South Carolina gave it up in bunches at times, and Rattler isn't the most mobile guy. He doesn't run the ball. He has pretty good footwork at times, and other times he doesn't. It's really kind of a crapshoot with him. Well, that's why he's not in the elite quarterbacks now.
Right.
When you think about guys, even though he was the number 1 QB coming out by rivals in the 2019 cycle, I think Notre Dame's going to have to bring that 5th pass rusher to create those situations. I think they're going to want to be conservative with that a little bit, because I think they can by getting them in 3rd and longs and stopping the run. But I just don't think without Foskey and with some people playing new positions, Justin Adamalola, we anticipate could be the starting Viper, and Riley Mills back on the edge. And then you don't have Riley Mills kind of pushing up the middle. So I'm going to go with 2 sacks. So I'll be under.
Okay. Yeah. The loss of Foskey hurts. He accounted for almost 1/3 of Notre Dame's sacks this season. He had 11. Notre Dame has 35. But I do think Notre Dame's going to be creative in trying to account for his absence. So I'm going to take the over. Notre Dame has had at least 3 sacks in 7 games this season. South Carolina's allowing 2.33 sacks per game. So I think South Carolina's going to pass a lot. Their running game could be sort of non-existent. It wasn't great to begin with, and it's lost its top 2 rushers. You can't say running backs because one of them was technically a tight end. So I think he's going to throw a lot, and that will lead to plenty of opportunities. So I think Notre Dame will hit that over. I don't know that they're going to get to like 4 or 5, but I think he can get to 3.
My guess is that Snead is the secret weapon, the secret blitzer, and that he gets at least 1.
All right. Maybe we'll give you a bonus point if that
Okay.
becomes right.
I'll take all the bonus points.
All right. Next one, will Wake Forest portal quarterback Sam Hartman be mentioned on the ESPN broadcast before the end of the first quarter?
I don't even know who these people are that are doing the game. Some guy named, I think it's Taylor Zarzer is the play-by-play guy, but Taylor better mention that in the first half of the first quarter, because he's going to have to bring up Drew Pine, why Drew Pine left, and that invariably leads to Sam Hartman. So if he doesn't do that, then he didn't do his research. He's not doing his job. Get him out of
there. I'm not familiar with him. I did some looking up on the broadcast crew a while back, and they are an SEC network crew, which sort of explains why I wasn't as familiar with them, because we don't find ourselves watching a lot of SEC network games because
Really?
Notre Dame's not playing on the SEC network very often, and usually if I'm watching a big game outside of a Notre Dame game, it's usually not on the SEC network. It's on one of the bigger networks. But I don't know how they would be able to resist and not have Sam Hartman's name become part of the broadcast, especially considering that
if they're really good, they ought to have Sam Hartman in the booth with them at some point.
Yeah, that would be hilarious. You're in charge of monitoring that, so
Okay.
if that happens, that would be quite the story. I would certainly feel bad for Tyler Buchner going out there. He's like, just let me play in peace. Come on. But, yeah, we'll see how soon his name gets mentioned during the game broadcast. All right, before we wrap up, final score prediction for Notre Dame, South Carolina.
I actually think I've done pretty well on my predictions this year, and I know those don't count, so they're just bonus invisible points.
I know I did go back and look. I ended up being 8-4, so the same record as Notre Dame, but not the same games as Notre Dame.
And what was I?
I do not know. I didn't check yours.
Okay. All right. So, I mean, I did pick the Clemson win. So, and I don't think you did.
No.
So I will go Notre Dame 34, South Carolina 24.
All right. We have the same score for South Carolina, but I have Notre Dame at 27 points. So Notre Dame 27, South Carolina 24. I think it'll be a little bit of a slow start with so many missing pieces on both sides. Once things get going, Notre Dame's running game will have some success. Spencer Rattler will have some success. And I think we'll be due for an interesting finish. But I like Notre Dame's chances to come out with a victory in the Gator Bowl. All right, that's it for this week's Place Your Bets, and potentially the last one of the season, unless we need to come back for a tiebreaker. If you are an Inside ND Sports subscriber, make sure you log your predictions on the Insider Lounge. And anyone can share with us their predictions below in the comments. And we will be back here on YouTube Monday at 7 p.m. Eastern for Monday Night Live to recap the Gator Bowl. We hope you enjoy the final days of 2022 and have a happy new year.